5,500 biological males were awarded first, second, or third place in female sporting events. 450 biological males were awarded national championship medals in female events. 140 women's world and Olympic medals given to biological males. Over $2 million in prize money meant for female athletes awarded to biological men. Are female college scholarships at risk? Maybe. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. No pun intended. Our guest today is on the forefront of these issues, sacrificing both his previous employment as well as his family-owned business to spread the word. The word? Words. Called common sense. I'm Tommy Werther at the Tactile Financial Studio in beautiful downtown Phillipsburg, New Jersey. And you're in the Blue Room. Further at the Blue Room, and before we get rolling here, I want to a little check in with the booth. Mo, how you doing in there?
Please, did you see the photos from earlier? Did you see the photos from earlier? How am I doing in here?
All right, guys, I'm working remotely today. I'm not feeling that too well. A little bit of a family concern issues that I had to deal with. Didn't want to stop the show though. You know, the show must go on. So we're working remotely from my house. We got Campy and Tony Cack in the office, and our guest today is welcome back to the Blue Room is Ilan Srulovicz. Ilan, how's your sound there? You hear me?
I can hear you perfect. Can you guys hear me all right?
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining us again. You were on the show a few years back when we were in the old studio, but the message hasn't changed. The fight hasn't changed. It's just getting bigger and bigger, it seems, as the months go by, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, ever since Trump was elected, it looks like there's been a shift, at least in support of respecting biology in terms of the differentiating factors of a man and a woman. So there's been a positive change, at least in that end of things, I find. It was getting pretty rough there for a while. Some crazy stuff was going on that a lot of people don't even know about. Like, pretty much putting biological men in prison with men who have a history of assault. It was just bonkers, completely insane. We had the Supreme Court judge who, by the way, couldn't define a woman publicly, right? It all went out of control for a while there.
Well, it's funny you say that. That you were talking about Jackson, the Supreme Court justice, who publicly could not define what a woman was. And it kind of makes you wonder how much of this bullshit does she really believe? Do you think that if she was in a room by herself or with she was home at the house with a friend or a family member and they asked her that same question, if she would answer it the same way, or is she just pandering to the crazy left for whatever reason? I got to imagine that as far down the rabbit hole as she has gone and a lot of others have gone, that behind closed doors, they probably feel the same way that 95% of us feel, but they feel the need to just keep pushing this false narrative, this agenda of theirs with craziness. It makes them seem unhinged and a little like you can't understand how 2 and 2 doesn't add 4 to you or to them. That there's got to be a semblance of normalcy left in that the way they're thinking, right? Are they completely bonkers?
There actually was an article I think that came out that said 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. There really was. It's actually something people should look it up. It's funny. But the denial of objective reality goes much deeper than just pandering. If you just think of it from like a philosophical standpoint, there's 2 tiers to it for me personally. There's the philosophical end and then there's the physical end, right? If you were going to try and destroy a strong country, what you would destroy is basic objective truths within that country. you would destroy things like the differentiating factors between a man and a woman, because you need strong men to protect. So I do think there's like a systemic attack on the foundational principles of the United States for that very reason. I do think that you see a lot of leftists who fundamentally disagree with capitalism. They're more globalist in nature. And then there's the other side of it, which is the philosophical side, which is God, right? What is the denial of God? The denial of God is the denial of basic truths. If you believe in God, if you believe God exists, he represents truth, the universe, everything that we live in. And so if you wanted to be like the new gods, the new people who are in control, it's not only a denial of it, it's actually an inversion of it. It's an affront to it. It's saying, no, we know more than God. We're more powerful. We can actually invert what a man is. We can invert what a woman is. So there's an entire philosophical aspect to this too. And it's a very powerful tool. If you can get mass percentages of the population to openly, comfortably deny what a man is and what a woman is, invert them to the point where they're willing to do the things we just said, which is put men in prison with women, you have full control over that group of people. And they do it so strongly that they attack you if you disagree with them. That's the fascinating part too. It's not just they're saying, I can believe what I want, you can believe what you want. They're saying all of society has to adopt this belief system. The legal system has to adopt this belief system, or else you're all evil, all bad, and deserve to be punished.
But do we really think that God and religion are as big a part of this movement as what you're saying here? And I mean, you may believe that, and some people may believe that. Is that because if you take the religious route on this, then it's fairly strict, and the same way like any extremism, when we talk about religion, Christianity, Muslims. The Muslim religion teaches certain things that are inalienable. They're not bendable. They're not bendable. We're taking the word of scriptures and writings thousands of years old, based on no one ever spoke to God. Moses came down and he delivered a message, and then from that point on, it was all interpretation. But never has it been in any of the readings or any of the scriptures that man wouldn't have a penis and a woman, wouldn't have a vagina. Religiously,
it's very clear, actually, that God created man in Adam and God created woman in Eve.
But then the argument would be, well, then who is to say what a man was? Did God say that when we say that God created man, what is man? And people are challenging what is a man and what is a woman. You've been one of the very vocal people to be out there and say, hey, I know what a man is. I know what a woman is. You can take the science route. You can take the biological route if you want. You can take the religious route if you want. When we start to redefine these things, what we do is we face the possibility of eradication of them. When we say, well, we no longer know what a man is, therefore there is no such thing as man, then men cease to exist. Same thing with religion. You can use the same thing with God. If people start to deny the fact that this being existed, then it no longer will exist. Why do we feel the need to continually rewrite this definition? Let's not have to redefine what a man and a woman is. But for some reason, they continue to do it.
You fundamentally do destroy what a man is when none of them can define it. That's a primary issue. So when I mentioned God, I mentioned the distinction between the concept of absolute truth and moral relativism. If you look at everything wrong in society today, it stems to some degree in moral relativism and this idea that there's no objective truth, that nothing's absolutely right or absolutely wrong. So when you start doing that, people can identify as whatever they want. They can commit whatever act they want. It's why on Instagram you see adultery being celebrated. You see them for a while. They were trying on the left, they're like TED Talks and weird stuff about trying to normalize pedophilia, because
exactly. Great example. Pedophiles. Like, how do you can't normalize that?
Well, it's not even it's a matter of there is no standardized truth. And if there's moral relativism everywhere, then what is right to you is right to you. What's right to me is right to me. And that there's no standard for it. It's all just subjective. If you want to do something, I can't really question it. And that's what the left plays on, absolute moral relativism. You can't have such a thing as a little bit of moral relativism. Either nothing is absolutely true or some things are absolutely true, right? There's no in between there. There's no like, oh, I believe, well, this one thing is true, but then I'm going to decide. Then you believe that there are certain truths in the universe. Science, by the way, when I say God, science is a reflection of that. Because if you believe in God, you believe science was created by God, the rules of the universe, all these things. But the religious argument
The only reason I bring up the religious argument is because it's a foundational concept for absolute truth. It's the founding principles of our country. There's a weird need lately for people to say, like, we're not a foundationally Christian, Judeo-Christian, whatever you want to call it, nation. We are. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about by that. There's nothing to be ashamed about by that. There's nothing to shy away from there. These are things I'm proud of.
We have guidelines. We have guidelines that we've had for thousands of years. There's no reason to deviate from the guidelines. We can make adjustments as we go along, just like we've done with the Constitution. Things that were written a couple of hundred years ago may not be as relevant today as they were then, but there are specific guidelines of right and wrong. You don't need a law to tell you this is right or this is wrong. Unfortunately, we need those laws, because otherwise we're the animals. We live like the animals. So we do need a set of guidelines to follow. They don't have to be definitive, but they need to be a basis.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. You do need ethical guidelines in us. And a lot of those guidelines, more powerful than the law, come from, again, the foundational ethical principles of that society. And so our foundational principles are Judeo-Catholic. A lot of people try and deny that, but they are. That's what the ethics of our society are built on. So you can't just eradicate that and expect society to keep functioning. But I mean, again, with women, I was surprised because I expected more women to stand up against this. It's the erasure of women. All these spaces that they worked so hard to create, all these opportunities. You talk about like systemic oppression. There was years, decades, hundreds of years of systemic, historically, actually, if you look at actual history of mankind, women have been very historically oppressed. And in the United States, we got to a stage of enlightenment where we started treating them equally. And all of a sudden, we're like, you know what? Let's erase all that hard work. Let's erase all the opportunities, all the private spaces for women, all the sports for women. Why are there scholarships for women? Why are there campaigns for women? If women don't exist, if men can be women, then women as an objective group no longer exist anyway.
But you could say that about any, let's call it what it is. Male whites are, for all intents and purposes, kind of rule the world, and anything that's not that has another place. You don't see the male white blah group, but you will see the black owned this, or the veteran owned that, or the female owned this, or there's a reason for it. When I was a kid growing up, most of my good friends, my circle, were boys. Boys hang out with boys, girls hang out with girls, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Brownies, Cub Scouts, you name it. Sports was never an issue then either. Like, girls played girls' sports. If you this movement, I don't know why. I guess I kind of do know why the sports got attacked fairly largely in that it was that safe place, right? In sports, when we were growing up, it didn't matter if you were the fat kid or the skinny kid. It didn't matter if you were the black kid or the white kid or the Jew or the Muslim or the whatever. Sports was a place where everybody kind of got together and we played together. We were buddies on the field, and then after that, who gave a shit, right? So where else do you get that? You get that in sports. So when you have a biological, we'll call it a biological woman that feels like a man and wants to hang out and compete, they don't have that same, as a kid, not sports related, but as a kid, those girls that I think that identify as boys, I'm sure they had a rough childhood. Same thing with the boys to the girls. Sports was that place as kids, that's where we went. That's what we did. You take what's going on right now and you push it back to my youth. I was born in 1971. Let's go back a decade earlier, the 60s, right? If the movement that's going on right now continues to take ground, right, it keeps moving forward, and you want to go back a few decades and say, well, this probably should have been started earlier. You know what we don't have? We don't have Serena Williams. We don't have Navratilova or Lloyd. We don't have Billie Jean King, who won 40 Grand Slams. Without Billie Jean King, you don't have Navratilova and Lloyd. Without Lloyd, you don't have Williams and the Williams girls. You don't have Graf. You know why? Because Bjorn Borg, Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, Sampras, Agassi, Rafter, Roddick, Federer, you name it, Djokovic, they win every single tennis match going from the 60s, 70s, 80s up until today. And women would cease to exist in the world of tennis if there wasn't a women's tennis.
Well, the Williams sisters played against a guy. He was a journalist also. He came in like 270th place for men, and he dominated both the sisters. Didn't this happen in like the 90s?
And we're not even taking anything away from them, right? Like, they are we're talking about the cream of the crop. When you think of who was the greatest female tennis player, you've got 6 or 8 names at the top of your head that you could think of that potentially fit that bill. If this movement continues on, that question won't even be asked ever again. Never be asked again, because there will be no women this. There'll be men that couldn't hack it as in the men's golf, and they couldn't hack it. Katie Ledecky? You think Katie Ledecky beats what's his face Phelps in the Olympics? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. None of them do. So let's. I'm actually, and you made a really great point. Is that I cannot believe the amount of silence from the female perspective.
It's not even silence. It's
women should be up. Not even athletes. Not even women athletes. Women in general that feel any sense of what a woman should feel like. Hey, we should be treated a little bit differently. We had a different upbringing. We have our own this and our own that. They're trying to men are trying to take that away from you. Things that you fought for and your parents and your grandparents fought for generations, and men are trying to take it away.
Caitlyn Jenner was named Woman of the Year his first year as a woman.
Yeah, that's crazy. And even the beauty pageants now are going to men.
Miss
so
America.
Again, but it's deeper than that. I do think that it's like a form of societal conditioning. You know, I can get more into it, but like there's been a lot of things where we've been. I did a whole documentary on something called psychogenic epidemics or mass psychosis in society. It's not like
Elon. That sounds way too smart for this room.
Like, here's what it is. It's pretty much a giant group of people believing things that are just objectively not true in society together, and they live in a state of fear revolving it. You could argue that, and I don't want to get into COVID, but you could argue that the mass hysteria around COVID was a psychogenic epidemic to the point of like people turning in their parents. Things like the Salem witch trials would be an example of mass psychosis, right?
It definitely was
someone a witch. Someone is so scared of witches that they are willing to kill them, hang them, throw them into the water and drown them to make sure they're not a witch. That's an example of a psychogenic epidemic.
You hear that,
guess what? If they were wrong,
they're dead anyway, so it makes no difference. There's also, again, there's a social pressure aspect to this. And so I do believe there are people who suffer from gender dysphoria very strongly, and they should be taken care of, and we should care for them. We should have empathy around them. I also do believe that there's a social phenomenon taking place now where we're rewarding this kind of behavior. We're telling people your identity comes from this. And what you're seeing is everybody in Hollywood, everybody is either trans or has a kid who's trans and is like so proud of it. And it's a game of identity politics. If you look, most of them are white, and we've told white people for a very long time that it's naturally oppressive just by nature of your skin because you exist. And so what are they trying to do? They're trying to find value. They're saying, oh my God, I'm white. They have white guilt about it. That's what society's told them they need. And so by having a trans kid or going trans, they suddenly become an oppressed category. They have value. And what you find, and I know this is true because statistically, if one girl in a friends group or one guy goes trans, within that friends group, within 6 months, you see it spread. You see multiple people in that friends group become trans. There's pockets that explode of transgender kids. In other words, this is not uniformly. You look at any psychological condition, you look at any type of dysphoria, any type of issue like that is not rewarded, that is treated like an actual illness. You do not see it spread, right? The spreading of an illness of the mind, or even, let's say I started believing, and by the way, there's no fundamental difference between this. The real dangers here are things that I'll talk about. People have, by the way, started doing this, identifying as younger. So they could be 40 and they can identify as 15. Does that mean they should be allowed to sleep with minors? Because we have to accept them biologically as what they are. And there's less of a biological distinction between age. In other words, it's far more subjective than your gender. In other words,
it seems like, sorry.
Well, just this final note, if a body washed up on a beach, okay, everyone who's a cop will know this. The first thing you're going to be able to identify, you're not going to identify its race. You're not going to identify his age. You'll say he looks roughly 30 to 40 years old. I don't know, but that's what you're going to think. But you'll know if he's a man or a woman. That's the first thing you'll identify. So the other aspects,
it smells
race,
like a fish.
Gender, what?
I said if it smells like a fish.
Yeah, well, but everything else.
If it's a man, it wouldn't smell like a fish. Yeah, well, I mean, for accuracy. I mean, if we're going that way, I don't know.
Hopefully, it doesn't smell.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
But it sounds like though it's more. It's not an identity as much it is like a genre. If you think back in the days of goth, goth is still around now, but not like it was an emu, where dark colored clothing and tattoos and pierce this and pierce that. And it was a lifestyle. So I get like what you're saying sounds more like a genre. I'm trans. I got a couple of friends that they're not really sure what's going on. Oh, it's kind of cool to be trans now because it's cool to be a girl that looks like a guy and people look like and go, well, I'm not really sure what that is. And they kind of think that that's a cool concept. People want to be different.
It's more than cool though, bro. It to what Elon was saying, like it's almost like you either have to be something or you have to be an ally of something. These kids, like, I feel bad for if you just want to be a normal kid growing up, you're not allowed to. Like, you have to be an ally of something.
Yeah, especially if you're like a white male kid, let's say, or even a white female, and you're not, according to the left, you're an oppressive group. Where does your identity come from? Look, I'm not white. I'm Iraqi, so this has no influence whatsoever.
I thought you were Peloponnesian.
I'm Polynesian, ladies and gentlemen. No, but
you look like half a guinea.
But my fundamental point is that again, we talk about, like, I know I brought up God earlier, but that is if everyone's beautiful just by nature of existing, and special just by nature of existing, which is again a foundational religious principle. You have a soul. God created you, you're beautiful, right? But even if you don't want to believe in God, you just fundamentally believe every human being inherently has value because of the nature of existing, then their race doesn't matter, their gender or orientation, whatever you want to call it, sexual orientation doesn't matter, the trans stuff doesn't matter. These are all mask identities that people put on that suddenly give them value. So it's why you see people like freak out over race nowadays. Like, it's become hyper obsessive. When I was growing up, it wasn't like that. But now people's value comes from their whatever oppressive category they're in.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be like me sitting here saying, I'm an Iraqi male. My mom escaped Iraq. That gives me points over you guys to talk, guys. Like, you guys haven't been through that. You shouldn't. Mm-hmm. So it's just a psychotic way to view the world. In other words, your individual experiences are not controlled by we take away all the uniqueness of the individual. You are by nature of being a black female Muslim this. And if you're this, you have this much social value. And so that's what kids are trying to do. They go from having no social value because they're just a regular kid to having immense social value because now they're a trans kid. And that's what we're teaching them. So of course you're seeing mass explosions of trans kids.
Going to that.
What?
I said they're going to that, but I mean, when of all the things, we often talk about 80-20 issues and 90-10 issues and whatnot. This what we're talking about right here, percentage wise, in this country, is minute. Mm-hmm. It's minute. There's maybe 2.1, 2.3 million people identify as trans. If you break down the math on this, scientifically speaking, the number is somewhere around 0.006% are actually medically trans. They're medically of the 2.3 million people. There's around 15,000 that are medically transgender. XXXY. Simple. It's math. It's science. It's dictating something. So of your 2.3 million people that identify, you're looking at like 2,877,000 people that identify with no clinical or medical explanation whatsoever. This is what I identify as. I identify as a Mets fan, and I'm going down to Philly to see the Mets play the Phillies. I should have special seating. I should have a seat closest to the home stadium.
Yeah, special seating in a minor league stadium.
Mets fan. You know what? You come here in a wheelchair, right, with a medical disability. Guess what? You're getting a parking spot right next to the stadium. You're getting a special seat. You're still getting the same shitty food we get, but you get treated a little bit differently. You can't just say I'm this and expect the world to take the knee for you at that point. Like, there's no, even of the 2.3. So if you look at 2.1 that aren't medically transgender, how many of them are actually people that are truly stuck in the wrong body, for lack of a better term? They're born the wrong sex. They don't feel comfortable in this. That's fine. Here's the thing. It's 1% of the population. 8% of our population identify as people that were abducted by aliens. What do we do for them? The answer is nothing, because we don't cater to that number. Of that 8%, ready for this? Like 3% say that they were sexually assaulted by aliens. So there are more people in this country that identify as people that were sexually assaulted by aliens than people that identify as transgender. That's the numbers. That's irrefutable. They are numbers. They're data that more people claim to be sexually assaulted by aliens than people claim to be transgender.
But why are you attacking people who've been sexually assaulted by aliens and saying they're
really, Tommy? That sounds bad.
But you know what we're also not doing? We're also not opening up alien violation centers and having police departments trained in alien sexual encounters. Why? Because it's such a small portion of the society. You know what? You go someplace for that. If you think you were anally violated by an alien, you go to your psychologist or your psychiatrist. If you think that if you identify as someone that was sexually violated by an alien, if you identify as someone that is transgender, you were born in the wrong body, you can go and work with that. My job is not to comfort you because you claim to have been sexually violated by a Martian. My job is not to bend over and comfort you because you think that you were born in the wrong skin. Medically speaking, if you have a medical condition, I'm all for it. My tax dollars, they go wherever the government says it's going to go anyway. I don't have any control over that. But there are people that need that. There are better resources than to attach it to such a small, minute, how many of these are real, how many of these are not real situation that we'll never know.
Well,
that's not our fight.
So what I will say is that intersex, the ones you're talking about medically, that's an incredibly rare condition to be intersex.
Tiny.
Now, when it comes to transgenderism, that number is exploding year over year over year and growing because it's a social phenomenon for that very reason. I don't know what the data is on most recent numbers, but every year it's gone up anywhere from 2 to 3 times, according to a lot of studies. It went from like 0.3% of the population to 0.6 to 0.9 to 1 to 1.3.
Depending on where you research, yeah.
And I don't care what people identify as fundamentally. In fact, I have a lot of empathy for it. I use people's pronouns if I feel like it makes them feel better. I'm not a jerk.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I feel pressure to do it. It's just I'm trying to make people feel comfortable if I meet them. But that's on an interpersonal level. Where I start having a problem is where someone's identity starts dictating law. Someone's subjective interpretation of reality starts dictating law and starts dictating what kids can do to their body. And we start celebrating it. If a kid came to me, I had OCD when I was a kid. There were days where I had such an overwhelming urge to like poke out my eye. Might not make sense to people. It doesn't make sense now if you're rational, but I wasn't rational. I really wanted to poke out my eye. If I went to a doctor and I said, listen, I have an incredible desire to not have an eye. I don't identify with having an eyeball. Is the right solution to treat the underlying mental condition, or is the right solution to cut out my eyeball? What we're telling people is kids who are not old enough to get a tattoo, they're like 10 years away from being old enough to get a tattoo. They're 10 years away from being old enough to smoke. They're 10 years away from being old enough to drink. They can't even have sex legally with like an adult. Like it would be a very, very big crime, right? Justifyingly. So we all agree that would be disgusting.
I mean, unless you're on Epstein Island, apparently it's no crimes for anybody there.
Well,
hopefully one day Epstein Island, all those people, it comes out and all those people get. I don't think I should say it on the podcast, but
I think we definitely need a definitive line in the sand that says at this age you can make these decisions. And I've been saying it for years that a young man or a woman in this country can go out and sign up for the military service and fight and get a rifle and die on the field, but they can't come home and have a beer at the local VFW with soldiers that serve just like they did. They can't come in and they can't buy a pack of smokes. Oh, by the way, they're giving them beer and cigarettes while they're in the sand over in Afghanistan. But when they get home, they're not responsible enough to have a beer with their buddies. So what that number is, I'm not really sure. Are you mature enough to say I can have sex at 16, but maybe not mature enough to have a rifle or drive a car? Not really. Again, is that a state thing? Should that be a blanket policy? But I do know that we are, like you said, we're having parents that are coming out and saying, yeah, I have 2 children, 3 and 8, two transgender children, 3 and 8. The fucking, you're telling me the 3-year-old identifies as transgender? No.
It's just
Mom
so
and dad,
idiotic.
mom and dad identify that, and they put that tag on that kid.
Yeah.
Listen, you're the parent. You want to do that? That's fine. You want to fuck your kid up that long from 3 and 5 and 6 and 8 years old for the rest of their lives? Have at it. You should be fucking charged criminally, though. I think you should be charged criminally. If a parent sit here in the living room and told the kid over and over and over to whatever, hate black people, hate Jews, hate women, and they go out and they kill someone of one of those dynamics at 12 years old, guess what? Mom and dad are responsible. The kid that takes the rifle out of the house and goes into the school at 12 years old and shoots the place up, and it was mom and dad's verbal okay, they're held responsible. When they just in Michigan, they were charged. Same thing. You have a responsibility not only to your children but to the rest of society to make sure you don't fuck your kids up.
Yeah, I mean, so when it comes to the age, I mean, the prefrontal lobe of a child really only, especially for men, only develops by like 25. I think we're too young on a lot of things. And I mean, you guys are cops. You're out there. You experience like you experience what a 21-year-old male is versus an integrated 30-year-old male is a fundamentally different beast. So we're just vastly different over that period of time. Those are important developmental years. But again, I think the problem is society started self-censoring. Society started worrying about catering to the minority in terms of like, these are fringe ideas. I always said that like politically, it's a stupid thing to base your whole party on, like making this the issue, because so many people within the party behind closed doors fundamentally disagree with it. And I know that because when we put out the ad, right, I have the ad erased. I have an ad called What is a Woman? I had so many people on the left reach out to me and be like, thank God, I'm so tired of this. I can't talk about it. My friends group would freak out. I probably had people within the same friends group who are silent to each other out of fear of the other one attacking them. All coming together being like, thank God you said this. And they're just too scared to actually say it, and they'd all agree with it anyway.
We actually have that ad. Give me a second here. I'll cue it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I obviously your ads, you have a campaign. I'm forgive me because we should have started the show with a slight explanation of who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
It's way too complicated. That's way too complicated.
But we can give the short of it. And like I said in the intro, is that you did give up an acting career. And you do sacrifice for your family business, which is Egard Watches, because every time that you put an ad out there or a video and someone disagrees with it, you're doing is you're opening yourself up to the cancel culture for someone to pass that around and push it around. But your series, your What Is series is phenomenal. What is a man? What is a woman? What is a hero? And it comes back to common sense definition. Because even though we may have grown up in different places at different times, I think I'm probably a little bit older than you, not mentally certainly, but physically. We came from the same place, and that we understand what we believe and what we teach our kids what those things are. But you've taken it to a new level. Can you tell us a little bit about where we can share the videos? The What Is series is a Facebook, and I saw a couple on YouTube, obviously.
Yeah, you know,
and what was that? What was the motivation there? Like you looked at this and you could have easily sat back and said, "Hey, you know what? I've got a great company. Your watches are phenomenal. I've got 5 or 6 of them. I think I got one of them right here. I got the Lime watch. I bought them for Christmas for my kids. The law enforcement memorial watch. Phenomenal. Why would you risk everything that you've worked so hard for, knowing that at any point, any one of these folks could just go on the cancel culture tour and just put all their efforts forward to destroy you, which obviously it happens. I know it happens. I know you see the video, you've seen the comments of people that probably hate you. But I tell you right now, there's a lot more comments of people that love you.
I got a ton of hate mail. I don't mind it. I also get a lot of support mail. So number one, I'm just not the type of person so I'm purpose driven. I don't want to have a company that's just there. And, you know, at the end of my life, I look back and I'm like, okay, I made money. Great. Okay. I made cool watches. Great. Like that. Those are nice things. But in the end of the day, I kind of want to, if in my final days, I always base every decision on that. Would I be more happy knowing I tried to make some kind of social impact? Like one of the proudest moments of my life is the Speak Truth video I did during the height of the BLM protests, because of I truly believed, I do truly believe that it had a measurable impact for a lot of law enforcement and law enforcement families out there.
It absolutely
So
did.
what's
It absolutely
more, and continuing to try and do things like, what's more important than that? Even if it costs me a little bit, it's fine. I mean, I'd rather have a life that has purpose in the end of the day. So the one for women specifically, like that's an issue I feel very strongly about. Again, not out of malice, not out of hating anyone who's trans. It's the movement itself has become distorted. It's become something, in my opinion, removed from what it intended to be. It's become a social tool. And so I want to I think that once one person speaks up and says like, hey, it's okay to speak up against this thing. Like, can we look at it and say what the problem is here? It allows other people to do that. All these companies are out doing advertising that's like pro this issue. I was the only one willing to do one that was like, hey, we've forgotten about women. Like, what is going on here? I was raised to respect women. I was raised to protect women. Where's all the men who were raised this way? Like, what is happening? So every time I make a video, it's not because I'm thinking about something in the future or the consequence. I honestly get a overwhelming need to do it. It's why, I don't do them very often. I only do it when I really feel like the absolute need. Like, okay, there's a problem that needs to be addressed, and no company's willing to address it. They're all doing the opposite. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just put it into the universe. And if people respond to it, however they respond, that's on them. And I think that it resonates with people because it's sincere. It's not like some made up, bougie video that's like all pro. It's a nice video, the erased one, but
Yeah,
I thought about the story
it.
myself. I edited it with my buddy, and it's
Elon,
all close to home.
I'll play it. So this way, let's have people that haven't seen it and don't know what we're talking about. Let me play it. Give me 1 second. I'll put it up on the screen. Hold on.
Do you have the What is a Woman?
When I was a little girl, I had this dream that seemed so impossible. I was going to be the fastest runner in the world.
It will be a new world record.
I got this little nugget of an idea from my dad. He used to watch me run and say, "Ain't no woman alive that can beat you." And I believed him. He made me feel invincible. It wasn't easy. I trained hard, harder than anyone else I know. But I was made for this. I was an unstoppable force, a life dedicated to perfection. But even perfection wouldn't be enough.
So the reason we put erased at the end of that is because of what you said. We've erased women as a category. So it's like she trained her whole life for that one opportunity, and then in that final opportunity, she realizes she can't win.
See, that's my first. This is actually my second Egard right there.
Oh yeah, that's the Chronogen. I like that one.
Yep. My first one was the all black with the blue line through it. I bought it one for me and one for the kids for Christmas. And then this year I got the police memorial watches for me and the kids.
Thank you.
Numbered from my precinct that I worked in. Great pieces. Again, compromising your livelihood for a message. It's honestly, it's not a difficult message. It's not a far stretch. It's not like we're trying to convince people that whatever, there's life on Pluto. This is just basic humanness. This is just like, wow, I'm trying to convince you that 2 + 2 actually equals 4. This shouldn't be difficult. But your video there highlighted the athlete, and which is how this started with when Booth and I were discussing about this issue.
I'm not even
Tyler
Mo
White
anymore. I'm just the Booth now.
The Booth.
Oh,
Well,
could you
'cause there's more than one
dehumanize me
person.
anymore?
Well, there's more
I
than one
identify
person
as
involved
Mo.
in this process. So collectively it is the Booth. But in West Virginia recently, they had the 4 or 5 middle school girls who refused to compete in a meet, a track and field meet, and the circuit court judge ruled and said that this boy, something Pepper Jackson, I think his name is, has been competing for a couple of years, and the girls said, "Hey, enough is enough. We're not going to compete." And they said, "We're not going to compete." The school issued a warning to the parents and said, "Your kids are not going to be able to compete next week meet either." The attorney general in West Virginia is involved now, going against the circuit court judge, saying, "Why are you taking away the right for these girls to compete in a level playing field?" Right? Unless and there's no such thing as a handicap system where a male athlete would have a different starting point or a timing handicap, and that's all fine and good for events like track and field. But what about volleyball? What about basketball? What about boxing? The Olympic boxing, the guy from Armenia, he knocked the daylights out of those girls. Knocked the daylights. It was in Carini, the female boxer from Italy, gets back. 46 seconds. 46 seconds the round lasted. She got hit twice. She came out and said, "I can't do it anymore. This guy's destroying me." And then the woman, I think she's from Taiwan, that fought the man in the gold, said, "No, this is all good. This is good for the sport, blah, blah, blah." She got her ass kicked too. That guy won the gold medal. IOC.
Yeah, and you're talking about a guy who wouldn't have even made any type of real segue in the
He was banned. He was banned in so many different bodies of fight that he wasn't allowed to compete. He goes to the IOC and they say, "Well, of course, we don't want to offend anybody. Anybody can do it here." And he wins the gold medal. That young Italian boxer has probably been in the ring since she's like 3 years old. Her whole life. Listen, women boxing, it's not like they have a Wheaties commercial waiting for them, right? A lot of these sports, a lot of these athletes, the only thing they're doing it for is that piece of metal, that pride from their country that hangs on there. And then they go back to being their school teachers and their nurses and their cops and their firemen in so many different competitions. And you're going to take that away from her because this man decides that he identifies as a woman and is going to knock the snot out of you.
Well, not only taking it away, they're putting their lives at risk. I mean, I always ask, I did in my documentary that I did, I sat down a bunch of people who were like very pro-trans, and I'm like, would you be okay with Mike Tyson in his prime stepping in the ring with women? And like, they just don't know how to answer that question. They're like, yeah, women don't need to do it if they don't feel comfortable. And I'm like, well, that's actually a psychotic. So I would ask them, I'm like, do you believe women are historically oppressed, like throughout history? They go, yeah. Do you believe that they've worked very hard to create their own spaces and have their own opportunities? Yeah. And you're saying that they should just give up what they've put their entire lives toward? Like, are you really thinking about what they've done? They've put their entire, like, have you put this much hard work into anything ever? No, you haven't done 1/1,000,000th of it. And you're just telling, well, then just get out of the sport because Mike Tyson wanted to come in and he'll literally kill you if you get hit by him. So it's just a complete disregard. It's so weird talking about this stuff because it's just so, I hate to say it. I find it's just so incredibly stupid.
It's ridiculous.
The whole conversation is stupid. Anyone with half a brain who is honest about it knows it's stupid. 99% of what's going on in the world today, sadly, is just completely insane. And it's like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, have I lost my mind? Has like the entire world gone crazy, or am I crazy where I have to have conversations about this stuff? Like the fact that a video about this is the biology of a woman is something that got millions of views, and I had news articles and like interviews to discuss, like, wow, I can't believe you said that. Like, that's not a demonstration of me being brave. That's a demonstration of society literally being psycho.
Common sense.
It's just
common sense.
The whole thing, even with what was going on with law enforcement, which was arguably the most controversial one I did in terms of like me, that was like the one time I was like, maybe I will get killed for this one. That was the hardest one, if I'm being honest with you guys, because I had like riots outside my house when it was going on. People were like setting up stones and stuff.
And YouTube took that original one down, didn't they?
YouTube took it down. They said it. Yeah, YouTube took it down. Facebook took it down. They said it's spreading violence or
Tommy
potential
had
for violence.
millions of views, bro. Millions of views, millions of comments. All this.
It's the comments that pissed me off. Yeah, because we lost all those comments of people saying like, you know, I lost my dad was a Leo, and they would share the story of their dad. Or like my son, and it's like all these beautiful, beautiful stories are just lost. Because I used to just go there on the comment section and just read stuff to see, like, wow, this actually meant something. And it's actually nice to see the stories of what people experienced and like the value it had to them. And so YouTube took all that away very quickly. I had to remove every celebrity from my website. God forbid I show support for law enforcement. That's the one where it was like, people are really, really crazy when it comes to law enforcement. I don't know if they just want anarchy.
You don't say, bro. You don't say.
Like full crazy. Yeah. Like I got death threats for that one. It was really nuts. Like
it's a snapshot of the sensationalism of the media and how they've taken over. And the last 10, even 15 years, things have gone so far off the rails. And Mo, aka the Booth, referenced Caitlyn Jenner before. Think about this for a second. We'll go down the rabbit hole. Paris Hilton is to blame for this because Paris Hilton hired Kim Kardashian as an assistant. The Kardashian women collectively single-handedly destroyed Bruce Jenner, a one-time Olympic athlete on the cover of the box of Wheaties. They beat this guy down so bad that he decided it was a good idea to chop off his root, throw a couple pounds of sweater meat up on his chest, grow his hair, change his name to Caitlyn, and he ended up on the cover of Vanity Fair and Vogue and all this other stuff as Woman of the Year. The media did that. Whatever his mental.
No, that guy, he had to have had some sort of. You can't just be like pressured into that. That was that was like the guy that was standing on the edge, and somebody just came by and just gave him a little shove.
Go ahead.
Right?
Jump.
They didn't walk into the edge of the building and then throw him off. That guy was dancing on the edges, and the Kardashians just gave him a little nudge to help him along his way.
And the media contributed to that.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, and then he also saw the fame that I think he probably anticipated. Guess who's relevant again? Oh, only the greatest track and fielder in the history of fucking walking. Yeah.
But that happens so fast. If you told me 10 years ago, we'd be sitting here today debating that it's okay to have a man who now identifies as a woman doing anything.
Come on, you wouldn't bang her? You'd bang Caitlyn.
No. And I'm a train wreck, but no.
Oh, you're a train wreck, right?
No. Kate, my God. But that happened so quick. And that transformation, or whatever you want to call it, that went off the rails, and that normalized it, and that encouraged others to say, well, you know, I'm a little fucked in the head. I'm going to travel that route too. And it contributed to mental illness.
I honestly, I would disagree with the fucked in the head comment, only because I don't think they're confused. I think we have our group of folks that were medically
I think confusion plays a lot into it, Tommy. I think I think the confusion. Every child growing up is confused at some point in time, and it's the parents' job.
I'm still confused.
It's the parents' job to correct that. I think, you know, and that's why I think Ilan hit on it before. Like, it really is child abuse. You know, the parents are feeding into this. You know, Rogan made a point when he was talking about not just the surgeries, but even like the hormones. He said, you know, if your son comes to you and says, hey, you know, I feel like I'm a girl. Okay, as a parent, even if you want to let him be a girl, you are making the choice to now genetically alter this child. You are the one putting hormones in them. You are the one signing off on surgery for them.
Well, that's different.
If they feel like they're a girl,
feeling like one gender and behaving like that gender is vastly different than getting drugs or surgery to complete that transition. And that comes back to the whole, at what age can you be able to make that decision on your own? But here's the thing, though. So you pick that number. It's 16. At 16, if you pick that number, that human being has probably been told by their parent for X amount of years that they are something that they're not.
Right.
So when at 16, they're not really making an educated decision. They're making a decision of something that's been pounded in their heads for 12 years or 14 years or 15 years. That you can't make it. A 16-year-old kid on this subject cannot make it. I mostly cannot make an educated decision because they don't know yet. We don't know yet.
But can I ask you?
At 20 and 25, like Ilan was saying before, the male brain, the body, we don't fully get to the peak until 25, 23, 24, 25 years old. So how are we going to make that decision at 16 years old? And then go back? What's the data on that? How many kids at between 16 and 22 have had gender reassignment surgery and then regretted it down the line?
You'll probably never see
a documentary on that called The Detransitioners. You're going to find out more and more and more. It's a growing number. It's very tragic.
I bet.
And a lot. And by the way, there's no measurable difference in the data when it comes to suicide rates pre and post op. In other words, it doesn't solve the underlying condition, which is what all of science is. All of psychology is now discovering. This is like the big finding that surgery does not stop the underlying issue, which is there is some kind of mental health issue there that is not being addressed or dealt with. I have a question for you, just because like this whole conversation around the age of it is interesting to me, and I'll explain why. If I went to the doctor and I said I identify as someone who doesn't have legs, all my life I felt this way. And a doctor, when I'm 25 years old, says, you know what, I'll just cut off your legs for $100,000. Why not? It's good business. And then more people started coming to him and saying, I identify as, should this become an industry? Should I then, even before I cut off my legs, like you were talking about being handicapped, I'm identifying as handicapped. I'm interested in being perceived as handicapped, and I'm going to eventually cut off my legs. You'd say no doctor should perform that surgery, even if you're 25. Because by definition of wanting to cut off your legs, you are not mentally there to make that decision. And I said, well, I'm going to kill myself if I don't cut off my legs. You'd say even more that something was mentally wrong with me. And then after you cut off my legs, I'm still equally as likely to kill myself. Would society come together and be like, you know what? Maybe doctors should. In other words, for me personally, I've gotten to this point just based on the data. And if the data changes, I'll change my opinion. If it is not helping people, it is a very expensive surgery. Doctors are getting rich off of it. They're incentivized to do it. And even if you're an adult, by definition, if you are suicidal and it does not help you, you are by nature not rational to make that decision either. So we need to get you to a place where you're stable. Then if you still want to do it, I'm libertarian by nature. Go do whatever you want. You want to cut off your legs and a doctor's willing to do it, go do it. But you have to be in a place that is mentally, because by the way, I think it's probably more insane. If someone told me, hey, we could take off your leg or we could take off your dick, I would probably opt for my leg to come off, to be honest.
But you make a really great point. As a 25-year-old man, I go to a doctor and I say, I identify as a woman. I'm going to do a full transition. I want to have my penis removed and I want breasts put in. There's not a doctor in the world. I mean, you probably have to go through some psychological evaluations, right? Because there's certain surgeries that you do have to have a psych evaluation. And so you do that, right? And you're good. What if you went to an orthopedic and said, you know what? I just don't want this leg anymore. Can you just cut it off? Now, is that doctor, would you go to the doctor and say, I don't want my dick anymore. Can you just cut it off? You have to give a reason why. All right. I don't want my leg anymore. Why? Well, because it's uncomfortable when I go on plane rides because my ass is too big. So cut my leg off. Would a doctor be able to remove your leg as a 25-year-old adult because you said, I don't want my leg anymore? The same way that if you said, hey, I don't identify as a man anymore, I'd like to take my penis off and add breasts. Where's that correlation? Can we do one and not the other? Because one of them makes you feel one way and one doesn't? Where's
they both make you feel the same way. They're both you identifying differently and then altering your body to be the thing you identify as.
Would a doctor take your leg off?
No doctor would do it. They would put you into a psych ward. They would tell you, I'm not doing that surgery. That's my fundamental point. Even when we talk about age, if you believe this is a psychological condition by nature, then the only way you should perform surgery is if it's a cure for that psychological condition. Not to get rich, not because it's trendy. So until I see absolute data that this is a cure and that we don't see high rates of detransitioners, we don't see the equal rates of suicide after. It's the same thing with chemo, right? If someone came to me, if we had no data on chemotherapy, if chemotherapy on paper did not cure cancer, but doctors were like, you know what, it's big business, even though the death rates are exactly the same after. So we'll put people through torture
of chemo and tell them it helps them, and then they're dying after. Chemo does help. I'm not saying chemo doesn't help. My
Yeah, but
cousin
the difference is
recovered
the
from
doctors
cancer
aren't
recently,
telling
thank
the
God.
doctors aren't telling the transition people that this is going to help you. The transition folks are going saying, "I want this because I think it's going to help me."
Yes,
Where
but
in
the
that
reason
scenario, the
doctors
doctor you have the doctor saying, "We're going to give you this treatment, even though we know it's not going to help you."
no,
Fast forward a year and say, "Okay, chemo doesn't work at all." But there's going to be a mindset of people that say, "You know what? You're saying chemo doesn't work now, but it worked for my mother 30 years ago, so I want it anyway." Even though doctors are saying you can't do it, no doctor in their right mind is going to continue to perform that. I would think.
I agree,
risk of
but the
losing their
reason
license?
doctors are doing it is because they're presenting it to the patients as a viable cure. That is what they're. It's not just one way or the other way. The doctors actually incentivize. You have a clinic. This is how you make your money in your clinic. You are incentivized to have gender reassignment surgery. It's big business. So they are pushing it on to people. They're saying this will help you. They'll play the mind game with you. Do you think you're in the wrong body? Yes. Are you suffering from depression? Yes. Oh, you're hitting all the check marks for this $55,000 surgery that will, probably not make any difference, but I'm going to tell you.
It's probably a hell of a lot more money than that. It's got to be, right?
It depends. Yeah, they started. It depends where you're doing the surgery, who's doing the surgery. 25,000 plus is what the surgery costs, and depending what you're changing and what you're doing, it's a very expensive surgery. Though it goes up and up and up. Oftentimes you have to go back in and do more. There's problems for the rest of your life with it, so it's not an easy. And I don't know how much of that is explained to people. And you know what? There are some people who get help, I think, by having the surgery. Some people, a small subset, but the testing and the analysis right now and the incentivizing and the social phenomenon of it all, to me, just it all feels like a dirty game of taking advantage of people, sadly.
But like I said, though, you also have that the home life. Those folks are not just walking into a doctor saying, "I'm considering." I think if you go to a doctor that's going to reassign your gender, I think at that point, any responsible adult, and don't know if everyone here is responsible, would have done that research.
No, we're
already.
absolutely not.
They're not walking into a clinic going, "Hey, you know what? I feel A, B, and C. Is this right for me?" And then some doctor is going to sell them on something they may not need. I would hope to think that decision has been made already. You don't go to an orthopedic and say, "Well, my leg hurts. Maybe I broke it." What happened? Oh, nothing. Nothing happened. No, what makes you think your leg's broken? Oh, I don't know. Just got a sore. All right, we'll try some Advil. Like, you're not walking into gender reassignment surgery and saying, "I'm not really sure." And the doctor, "Wow, here's the problem. You got to get rid of that dick."
No, but they are.
You're right, though. They are pushing it.
Obviously, if you're going to see a gender reassignment, a surgeon, like a doctor who's performing those surgeries, you've probably identified as trans for some time and feel like it's right for you. Again, over the age of, I'm libertarian by nature, so I've always taken, I guess I'm libertarian by nature. I don't know. I've always taken the position that
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'm more conservative nowadays in the
You identify as one?
I
feel like you're a libertarian?
Libertarian, whatever you want to call it.
You want us to cut your dick off and see if we can find out?
Yeah, no, I fundamentally just believe if you're an adult, you should be able to do things for your own life that don't affect other people, as long as they do not affect other people. Obviously, when you start saying, because that's what people always ask me, they say, "So why do you care about trans, the movement?" I'm like, because it's literally, you're not saying I want to go do this. You're saying society has to accept you as this. Now you've imposed it on everyone. You're not, just because you say you're a woman doesn't give you the right to go to a woman's prison, doesn't give you the right to play women's sports, doesn't give you the right to go to women's restrooms. You want to be a woman, you want to identify as one, that's fine. Like I said, you want to go do the surgery. I still just ethically don't believe doctors who perform it are that ethical, but I don't think it should be illegal. I don't know if I want the government stepping in and saying these doctors are committing a crime.
You can make the same argument for Botox. So Botox, there's no physical, for most part, there's not a physical advantage to getting a cheek lift or you get rid of your bags under your eyes. That's all. How do you feel yourself? Like, "Oh, I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to look better. I think I'm going to look better. So I'm going to get this Botox injections wherever the frig you want them."
Well,
yeah, but Botox doesn't have the same.
Botox goes away.
Yes,
yeah, this is not.
It doesn't have the same measurable risk. But we do all types of surgery. Tattoos are permanent, and they bring some degree of measurable risk. That's why I'm saying I don't know.
really where I sit on that.
Well,
end of things.
what gender reassignment surgery is not permanent, and you brought up the tattoos earlier, and that's a great point. You say where these surgeries are not a crime. I think when they apply to children, I think they are a crime.
100% with children, hormone blockers. I think all of it's crazy with children.
Because
With
again,
adults,
I
though,
can't take my child. I mean, my now 17-year-old could not get a tattoo without an ID. I couldn't take her there as her parent and consent to her getting an ID or getting a tattoo rather, because she didn't have an ID without the tattoo shop risking losing its license. That's
yeah,
just
here's
a
my
tattoo.
question
That's
for
a
you. Do
tattoo.
you believe doctors who, when they meet these people, have like an addiction to plastic surgery and are putting their lives in danger and just keep going and going and going? Like there's these cases of people doing like crazy plastic surgeries, and a lot of people say those doctors should be in jail.
The woman in Connecticut, was it Jocelyn Wildstein, that had her face done like a cat? She had the whiskers put in, and she had all that.
Yeah, there's all that.
Yes.
No, even just like butt lifts. Like there's people go like butt lift after butt lift, and then they just are addicted to plastic surgery. It's like a real addiction. Is a doctor who performs plastic surgery on this person knowingly committing a crime? They know this person is not rational.
What's rational? So the way the doctors cover their ass is that they have a psychologist or psychiatrist on their team, and then before you get whiskers put into your upper lip, you go see this psychiatrist or psychologist. This is, this person is of sound body and mind and can make a conscious decision. They know what's going on, and they give you the check mark. They're getting paid. The doctor's getting paid. Everyone's getting paid.
That's what I'm saying.
They're going to pass all those hurdles.
But it is a dirty business by nature of they don't really care. I think the same applies to a lot of gender dysphoria surgeons. I think they don't really care if you actually need it or not, or it's just a phase, or what your mental state is. They just want to get paid and do the surgery. So, and then
there are others that probably, I know there are other surgeons that connect with these folks and say, I'm doing this with compassion. I grew up in my body. I was comfortable in my body. I understand that you may feel like you're not in the right body. And I understand that this surgery might be life-changing. I get it. And they support that. But you're right in that I would think most of them were probably plastic surgeons and reconstruction surgeons that found that niche, right? They found that niche. Like, I can get paid for this. And all of a sudden, all the other stuff that they were doing went out the window because they made a fortune. Why? Because a lot of insurance doesn't cover this shit, right? So what are they doing? They're getting cash. It's a cash business, mostly.
Circling back though to women's sports specifically, where do you guys stand on the president withholding federal funds to states and to colleges that are not getting in line with this male-female and still allowing transgenders to be in female sports? Because my thing, again, this is the you see people outraged and they're foot stomping. This is nothing new. Most recently, the one that sticks in my head again because of law enforcement was Clinton. During his term, he wanted to raise the blood alcohol content from the DWI from 0.10 to 0.08.
It used to be like 0.06, and then
he 0.10. He wanted to go from 0.10 to 0.08.
Right.
And he said, you can find it in print. Anybody feel free to fact check me. You can find it in print. He said out loud that any state that did not want to comply didn't have to, but they would lose their federal highway funding. Said it.
Yes.
No problem. Douglas, and nobody in the country had. So that what Trump is doing is nothing new. It's well within his rights. If you are, every state under the new federalism concept has the ability to provide its citizens more protection than the federal. They can't provide less. They can provide more. Now, you can argue whether letting men participate in women's sports is actually providing more protection. I don't know. That's up to you. But they could suffer consequences for that. If you want to go against the president of the United States, well, great. Then you can't also suck off that tit. Like that's.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the thing: if it is federally protected, so you have a president of the United States that was elected by a majority of the people in this country to put his mandate forward, right? Put his mandate forward. If they're not breaking the law, if they're not following Title IX, and Title IX is the law of the land, I have no problem with them withholding. The problem with what we're talking about right now is that, like, it's short of Maine, when you talk about like Harvard and whatnot, this was collectively building up. You had women and you had men and women's sports issues. You had DEI issues. You had the Muslim, the anti-Jew movement issues. All that together tied in with Columbia and Harvard. What's going on in Maine is a very different thing. Just because the president says it's so, you can presidential order or not. I'm not a big fan of that.
Well, again, Tommy,
listen, if by federal law, sort of like the immigration, if by federal law it says A, B, and C, and you don't follow A, B, and C, withhold everything, give them nothing. You know how many schools would love to have the $2 billion that he sends to Harvard?
Well,
Harvard's
to
$50
point.
billion endowment can handle them for a few years. There are small schools all over this country with the ability to do what Harvard does, and as soon as they get that money, guess who's going there?
Wrong.
All those
There are schools around the country that are doing what Harvard's doing, and they are doing the same studies. And people have brought up this point that where Trump is failing is he's okay taking the money from Harvard because Harvard is not the only school doing the research that they're listing.
What do you mean taking the money? How is Trump taking
federal funding?
Taking away from that. Taking away from
where he's failing is he should be reallocating it to another institution that is doing the same research but is in compliance with.
But that research has to get done. But that has to get done. So the first move is,
that's where he's failing. That's where he's failing. He needs to reallocate that money. Yes,
it couldn't have been done together. You couldn't go, I'm going to take it from you and give it to Binghamton University.
Why can't it?
Because they haven't done the research yet on it. So the first wave is come in strong. I'm taking all your money. I'm stopping all that money. Right now, all those wheels are turning on where to put that money. Guaranteed. They're working on where that money's going to go. But there's no way in 3 months they could have known exactly which program would have benefited and replaced what Harvard was providing as well as Harvard did. That'll take some time. So the first move is we're putting the brakes on it. Give us a couple of months.
Well, and then we're going to find out where that money's going. I'm going to say you don't take the money until you have that ready to go.
No, I think what he's hoping is that they turn around and go, whoa, holy crap. All right, we're going to do what you want, and we're not going to rock the boat. That's what he's hoping. And that's
they're clearly not going to. And this, I think one of you guys had brought it up earlier. Like the way the obstructions are acting, like it defies logic. Like I don't understand. Like if you want to pretend this is all one big chess game, right, where every move means something. They're not making these moves for no reason. I can't wrap my head around, and I know you're going to get to it later, so I don't want to jump ahead. But I can't wrap my head around some of the things that the anti-Trump people, because it really is just anti-Trump. It doesn't make a difference really what the issue is. He could be in favor of oxygen and people would be putting plastic bags over their heads.
Yes.
Like they don't get it twisted. But I can't wrap my head around like some of the things they are supporting. And like Ilan has said before, like you see women after how many decades of fights for women's rights, you now have women marching and protesting and borderline rioting in favor of men taking over their sports. Like it defies. I don't understand. I can't get what's the end game. You have politicians. I'll argue in violation of the Logan Act, actually traveling to other countries to negotiate to get violent gang members out of prison. Like what is there possible?
We'll get into that because
I know I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah, I know. But they all connected.
With this, focusing specifically on the women, I can't understand. Somebody explain to me in crayon. Make it make sense. As the father of,
it's because it's a cult.
it really has to be. As the father of 2 daughters, I will die on this hill. You will not. There will not be a man on this planet that will minimize the successes of my biological women, my biological female daughters. As a man, you are not a more amazing woman than my daughters. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I will fight you to the end. And it is absolutely, and again, one of you guys had said it is a mental illness. And I always say that the acceptance, the normalizing of this is not love. It's not. It's laziness. It's laziness. It takes work. Talk to anybody that has had a relative that with Alzheimer's. It's not heartless to say that it's work to love somebody with a mental illness. It is absolutely work. And I say that when you're faced with a child who's in this kind of confused state, it's lazy to just say, oh, you feel like a girl? Great, you're a girl now, and we're just going to all pretend you're a girl, rather than loving that person enough to address the mental illness, right? To, like Ilan said, wrap your arms around them and protect. Like, we're going to help you get through this. I love you. We're going to work on this. You're not denying their humanity. You're actually trying to uplift them. If I've always said I separate, like, the LGB is different than the TQ, and I think even the LGBs would say that they're like, I think, and this is, again, I was born and raised Roman Catholic, so it's even a controversial I guess point of view for my religion. I've always said, that being lesbian or gay, that is a sexual fetish, no different than anything else. Some people are into tall people. Some people are into short.
No, that's not a fetish.
Can't be.
Bullshit.
Hold on. Let me finish before I get into Barry Bonds being in the Hall of Fame. Like, I mean, Campy's into midgets. I mean, I don't know what to do with that.
That's different.
It's a little thing.
It's a little. I see.
Gay, lesbian, or straight. You're born.
No. So no. Listen. So you are chemically. You are born predisposed to be sexually attracted to something, whatever it is, and it's. You can say yes. Is it learned behavior? Yes, it's learned behavior in that you don't really realize it until you experience it. So it's learned in that aspect. But I believe that you are chemically predisposed to that. Now, if you are telling me that the voices in your head are telling you to chop your dick off because you are actually the wrong gender trapped in the body of the other gender, no, that's a mental illness. That is cutting 2025 version. That's cutting on steroids. It is absolutely positively a mental illness. You will never convince me of anything otherwise. Love who you want to love, be who you want to be with. But when you are mutilating your body in defiance of biology, in defiance of science, defiance of logic, that is a mental illness. And normalizing that as a parent, as a society, is lazy. It is
Here's
lazy.
The thing, though.
It's also celebrating it.
We shouldn't care. We shouldn't care about any of that. If my neighbor wants to cut his junk off or have her boobs removed and have a penis surgically attached, I don't care. If that's what
that whole scenario
happy,
made my brain hurt.
I don't even know.
I don't even know what gender your neighbor is at this point.
I don't care. I don't want to have to pay for it. I don't want to have to bend the knee. I don't want to have to refer to people by 6 different pronouns. Like Ilan was saying earlier, I refer to you your pronoun. If that's what makes you happy, that's fine. I don't care what you call me. When people ask me my pronoun, which very rarely happens, I just look at them like, what do you think? That's fine. I don't care what you do. Call it a mental illness, but my tax dollars for your mental illness or for your decision to be whatever, I don't agree with that. And I don't think it's an illness. I think it's you just do whatever you want to do. If it's not affecting the guy on your left or the woman on your right, that's fine. You're not hurting anyone. But don't come after me because I don't.
Anytime I'm having a debate with people who are very pro-trans.
It's funny you say that. I had a call in for someone to have that discussion to try and navigate that into this conversation, which I would never drop on anyone. This was a pregame thing where we would have talked about and said, "Hey, this is how it's going to go." It just didn't work out for this show, but I would love to have that.
I would love to debate.
I'm very open, obviously, to hear everything and just kind of comment on it. And again, it doesn't affect me personally. It doesn't affect my kids. My kids are my kids. They're gonna whatever they want to do. I'm going to support as long as they're happy and they're not hurting anybody. Do your thing. Do your thing. I don't know why we're making such a big deal out of it. But there are certain rules that need to be followed.
Well,
you want to rewrite the rules, don't rewrite the rules.
When I'm debating trans people, like we're pro-trans people, one of the things they do that they think is a big gotcha is refer to me by the wrong like pronoun. Like they'll be like, "Okay, miss," and I'm like, that doesn't bother me. Because I'm not a weak-minded, like that's the last thing.
It's childish.
So, like, the fact that it bothers you when someone misgenders you, they're like they're denying my identity. I'm like, you just denied my identity. I'm okay with it. You're not like that to me shows there's something wrong with you. The fact that you cannot be misgendered without perceiving it as like this great threat to your well-being. I'm like, call me miss all day, call me ma'am. Call me whatever you want. Like I'm not
Bill.
Freak out over.
My name is Tommy, but you remind me of a guy that I know named Bill. So
I just wish everybody would call me.
I'm not gonna be like, holy shit, you're denying my whole identity. I don't know what to do now. My life's in danger because you called me ma'am. Like that demonstrates the depth of this, the entitlement. Like the problem is we become a society too comfortable. Again, like if you're in the Middle East, this issue doesn't exist. This is not a concept. People don't realize it. My mom always told me, she's like, when people always talk about like fear for their life. Oh, I'm oppressed. I'm this, I'm that in society. She goes, when you're and trust me, my mom knows oppression better than anyone. She literally had to escape the country. She goes, when we were escaping the country, when you're really oppressed, you don't have time to talk about it. You don't have time to self-reflect on it. You don't have time to create movements around it. All this stuff is a result of comfort, of entitlement, and the ability to do it, because when you're really oppressed, you do not have that chance. You're running, you're hiding in a tent somewhere. You're escaping in a desert somewhere. There's bombs coming overhead. Like that's what real oppression is. It's not, I'm going to sit here and discuss how you calling me ma'am was a travesty and now my life's in danger. It's so stupid. Again, this is all a result of insane entitlement.
Josh, my friend Josh, who's not here. The guy that's not here. We're like an hour and 20 in. Why don't we take 5? Give it a little.
You want to take a break? Elon, you're going to stick around for the second segment, bro?
I might be going out. I didn't realize we're going to be going for more than an hour.
No worries. Listen, you're welcome to stick around. It's kind of the same. We're hitting law enforcement, immigration. It's the same psychos that think that the transgender thing is a big deal are the same ones that are letting criminals go and want to
like the judge who was just arrested
and bring them back. And we're going to touch base on that. And you can hang out and come back in 5 minutes, or if you want to hang out and then in the middle of it go, hey, you know what, guys, my car's here. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you do whatever you want to do.
My girl's just waiting for me. She was waiting to go. I'm having surgery soon, so I got to buy special shoes. So for my knee.
Jesus, are they gonna be like the ones that De Niro wears that are like the soles are like 7 inches thick?
No, he's getting gender reassignment surgery.
Elon, when you said surgery, I got nervous for a second.
Being...
I thought you were getting tits.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having gender reassignment surgery on my knee. I'm growing a dick out of my knee.
Well, then listen. I mean,
so then you'd have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, basically every day.
Wow.
Good job,
low hanging fruit, man.
All right. Well, then we'll let him bounce. So then, before we go, again, I want to thank Elon for everything. I think Tommy, you had said it earlier. what people have to realize, what's so impressive about what he does and how he does it, is that he has so much skin in the game. You know, you see these billion-dollar companies that bend the knee to this woke culture. Elon doesn't. And every time he puts one of his videos out, every time he takes a stand, every time he says what he says, he risks losing everything. I mean, it's literally a father-son business, akin to a mom and pop business. It's a father and son business that he puts on the line every time he says these things, which again is why we love him. I mean, it's so impressive to see somebody that has that platform that uses it like that, as opposed to, he could take the easy road. If he took the easy road, he'd still be in fucking Hollywood with all those fucking Epstein Island fucking freaks. You weren't on Epstein Island, bro. Where are you? I
got a crazy story for you guys one day. Not Epstein Island, but I've been deep in the Hollywood game. I was in a whatever. We'll talk about it next.
Yeah, it was Ilan. It was great having you, bro. Well, thank you very much. But no, I mean, honestly, guys, please, Egard watches, check them out.
Josh, do you have the Line Watch?
I
have
do.
One handy?
Give me. Yeah,
I have one right behind me.
I'm gonna put it. Hold on. So there you go. I put it egardwatches.com. We put the link to their website in the comments.
We have, my family's got 3 of them.
Thank you.
Just give it a quick breakdown of there's a donation to BBO. There's also a donation to police officers
National
Museum,
Law Enforcement Memorial Museum. Yeah.
So can we touch real quickly on that before you go and give folks you said there's a link up there, Booth, Mo?
Yeah, well, I'll say, dude, yeah. I just wish you didn't misgender me. Just call me Mo. Yeah, no, we put the link to the website in the comments, and I'll let Elon say. But yeah, there's the donation is both to Brothers Before Others, the National Flower Fund that we have, and then also to the Law Enforcement Memorial down in DC, again, which is the only nationally recognized memorial that does not receive federal funding. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how that works out?
Well, maybe that'll change in the next couple of years.
No, I hope so. But and again, like I said, this guy's work, Ilan, we're going to talk about you like you're not here. Mm-hmm. This guy's work speaks for itself. Please, support those who support us. Links in the comments. Ilan, thank you for joining us today, and we apologize for Tommy looking like he has AIDS. He does, but it's okay. We're gonna start a little, like I said, a little UNICEF fundraiser. A GoFundMe will also be.
I'm gonna shave the beard for the next show, and you're gonna really see the Tom Hanks Philadelphia come out.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Oh dear.
Ilan, any other plugs you want to drop? You have anything else going on? You want to drop out there, or
no? That's it.
Anybody interested in tracking Elon's surgery journey?
What's
please
the
look for his
YouTube channel to
TLC
see those
show.
videos? Is that Egard Watches?
Yeah. If you type in Egard Watches on YouTube, you'll see us come up.
Go to YouTube, go to Egard Watches, and see the What Is series, which I honestly they're so well done. Like the one that we showed earlier is so well done. The sound and the video content and the message.
Links already in the comments. Dawn's on it.
It's very well done. So hopefully we'll bump up some awareness on that.
I appreciate that.
We'll see where it goes on, man. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Let's hit a commercial.
Appreciate it.
We're back in 5, guys. Back in 5.
Bye, guys. Thank you for
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. Welcome back, Tommy. There you go.
Oh, thanks.
As happy as I was to see you eating, considering you're like Somali skinny, we got to cut you off.
Well, we're still working out the kinks on the remote. So in my mind, the way the show started would have went to me with my intro for the second part, which would have been setting up what we're going to talk about next, and pretty much.
Okay. Well,
With that
would you like to do that?
Yeah. You ready? This is how it would have started.
Go ahead.
All right. Every single president since Reagan has been hardlining on illegal immigration. Obama ran on it, up on stage in the House, standing with his fist up high, that illegal immigration is a big problem. Hillary ran on it too in 2016, saying, and I quote, "We're going to get rid of any violent person. Anyone who should be deported, we should deport them. I'm not going to let anyone in the country who has not been vetted." So in 2016, Hillary thought that whoever she thought was violent and whoever she wanted deported should be deported, and no one would be allowed here without being properly vetted. Sounds a lot like Trump, doesn't it? Well, because they all said it. They all said it to get votes, but only one of them is actually doing it. How do you reduce deportations? Stop letting them in. Don't let them stay. But it's too late for that. Okay? 4 years of an open door policy will take 40 years to undo. Let's dig into that and see what's what. And that's how that will start. Campy, I'm sorry we didn't get to touch much base and converse much in the first piece. I think the booth made it, laid all that out, that was really going to be mostly a one-on-one.
Let me sum up. Let me sum up Campy's first half appearance. Hold on a second here.
But that's okay.
See,
that's okay.
Ilan was so amazing, and I loved hearing what he had to say. I didn't want to interrupt. And it was great being back with you. You know, last time I was here with you, I used Michael Rappaport's mayonnaise to glaze high-pitch Eric like a fucking donut. So this was nice. This was refreshing to sit back and observe and hear. And I threw in when I could, but I didn't want to interrupt you guys. It was just going really well. And I agreed. It was all phenomenal. But we're going to get going this round. I'm really excited about it. It's great to be back here. We're going to have a lot of.
I think you can count on like 3 fingers the amount of curse words I used. I think Mo cursed more than I did.
No, I did. I mean, Tommy, don't let the show get in the way of your daily snack that you're eating. Just feel free, bro. I mean, I know you got to get the carbs in where you got to get them in.
Look, you guys have cigars. You probably have good pizza. What do I got? I got a salted bagel. That's what I got left of my little bagel action. That's all I got.
We got
Elon's phenomenal, dude.
He was.
Oh, he was awesome. He was awesome.
And
I wish he could have stuck around because he obviously like us. He's got a very strong opinion on these issues.
Yep.
And I really wish we could have spent more time digging into why he feels that way. You know, you watch podcasts and you watch newscasts and you watch opinion pieces, and I do it all the time. I'll watch a show and then so and so will chime in. And like, oh, here's so and so talking about blah, and I think to myself, well, what makes them relevant? Why is their opinion stronger than my opinion?
I think it's defiant logic. Honestly, I think that's what motivates him. He just refuses to bend the knee to the woke culture, and yeah, it's just logic, bro. But
like you had said earlier, these giant multi-billion-dollar companies that have nothing to lose. This guy's got everything to lose, and he's just going out there going, you know what? He doesn't need a legacy, but at the end of the day, he wants to be able to say, oh, I didn't just sell widgets. I didn't just sell this. I didn't just make that. I made a difference. I had a platform. People get all over like Bruce Springsteen and Bono for going to a show and then having to hear their politics shoved down your throat. But you know what? I don't agree with a lot of the messages that they send. But I do appreciate the fact that you've got a captive audience to get your message across. Because I know that if I was in that same position, I may not do it as much as they do. I know people that have been to 15, 18 U2 concerts, and the last, 8 or 10, they get there late because they know that the first 20 minutes is going to be Bono, or they get late to their seat. They know 18 or 20 minutes of Bono talking about depression and the Irish and don't doing this.
This is why I love Billy Joel. Billy Joel
So,
always he says,
Yep.
he goes, I do not. He obviously he has his political opinions,
But he keeps it
and
to himself.
He keeps
He's
it to
there
himself.
to entertain.
Honestly, I think I don't know if he's a never Trumper, but I don't think he's a big fan of Trump. But he says, he goes, people don't come to my shows to hear my political opinions. They come to my shows to be entertained. And it's like the Piano Man song. Like, they want to escape life for a while. Like they want to be there, just entertained. He doesn't bog it down with his politics. There's a format for that. And their shows is not that.
And I don't care. Like, I'm not here to find out who you voted for, who you're supporting, who you want me to vote for. I'm here to hear the music, and that's it. And we've gotten lost in that. And I feel like, again, getting back to the Caitlyn Jenner thing, so much of this became sensationalized.
It's Bruce Jenner. It's Bruce Jenner.
It is.
Let's call it what it is.
Bruce, BK. I feel like so much of it got lost in the sauce because, growing up, we watched the news, and the news was relevant current events, what happened for the day. Now it is completely one-sided. I don't care what network you watch, what outlet you watch, you're going to see what they want you to see. And the illegal immigration, what I love about this is so many of these new news outlets are calling the deported felon who they're trying to get back from Maryland the father from Maryland.
The Maryland dad.
The Maryland dad. Yeah. Forget the fact that he's a gang member. And right off the bat, forget the fact.
Stop trying to jump ahead, Campy.
Oh,
Let Tommy do it.
Sorry,
Campy. You know what? It was better when you were quiet. Look at Tommy.
Crickets. Let's hear the crickets again. It's stage 5 ADHD. Do you want to play the soundtrack?
I'm going to get another bagel. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No. I'm not making Tommy. Tommy's clearly going through it enough today. I'm not doing it to him. Oh, I'm fighting it. All right.
Anyway,
Tommy, go ahead.
So, no, I don't even know where we're at. What we were going to hit on was Campy had started talking about the immigration and what's right and what's wrong, and are we sending? First of all, we aren't sending any politicians over to El Salvador. All right, we had a senator and 4 congressional seat members. We're going to go over there and we're going to bring this guy back. I'm not leaving until I get him. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a great vacation. I would love to be able to say I'm going to El Salvador and I'm not coming back until you send this murdering killer back. Oh, by the way, and the tax-paying people are going to pay for my vacation.
Yep.
I'll go there for 6 months. It'd be great. Pick and choose your battles. Choose your battles. But it's not just senators and diplomats going overseas. It starts here. They're riding the coattails of the judges that aren't cooperating with ICE. They're riding the coattails of the governors and the mayors of the sanctuary cities and sanctuary states are saying, we're not going to work with the federal authorities to enforce federal law. We have around 3 million, probably closer to 3.5 to 3.7 million backlogged immigration cases right now in immigration court. And there's about 500 judges handling these cases. 500 judges handling, I don't know, pick a random number, 30 to 40 cases a day, 500,000 cases a year. Take about 8 years just to clear the dockets of what's existing right now that we know of, right? 8 years to clear the dockets of the federal immigration court system, working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 8 years solid to get back to zero from today. Forget about what's coming down the pipeline.
Now
you're looking at like a 20-year policy to clear the 4 years of mess that the Biden administration had dumped on us. They had 4 years open borders, millions of people coming in. So we can't get rid of, if we do case by case, they didn't come in case by case. They come in 500 at a clip. And some of these folks are saying, well, they come in 500 a clip, but we have to address each one of them one by one. No, we don't. Here's a group of 25. They all fit the same criteria. They all come in illegally. They all have a criminal background of whatever, blah, blah, or whatever criteria you want to set forth. They get put together in a bunch. Get rid of them. They commit a crime, that's different. For each crime that was committed, then that's an individual case. And the penalty should be deportation. Just like Hillary Clinton said in 2016, we will deport the criminal element. They all said it. Clinton said it.
Tommy,
Obama said it. Bush said it. They all said the same thing.
The minute they came into the country illegally, they committed
a
a crime.
Well, hold on. Wait a minute. So now you're talking about civil crime versus criminal. Criminal and civil are very different. The act of crossing into our property, unvetted and illegally, is a civil violation. Now, it doesn't mean that the penalty shouldn't be deportation, right? It's not like they raped and killed and murdered somebody just by crossing the border. There's enough of those to go around because all those folks need to get out too. And they're the first ones that we're working on. We'll get to the other ones eventually. The civil penalties, the ones that just crossed over illegally and didn't commit a crime, they're going to go too. But anyone that stands in the way of actually deporting criminal gang members, look, you came from wherever you came from. And when you left there, you had this MS-13, this Trendaragua, Crips, Bloods, Latin Kings, you name it. You don't leave that lifestyle. You're not allowed to leave that lifestyle. And it's very
no, at all.
It's known. It's
blood
known.
in, blood out.
You're not a Latin King today and then move to Colorado and you're not a Latin King anymore. Eventually that's going to catch up to you. All right. It's just the way it is. I'm sorry. You made a mistake early in life. Not my job to deal with it. My job is to get rid of you and put you back where you made that declaration of gang membership. Because now you're coming here and Trendaragua's everywhere, MS-13's everywhere, the Bloods are everywhere, the Crips are everywhere, the Latin Kings are everywhere. You name it. They're here. The 2-on-2 crew is here. They're here. Get rid of them. Not my problem. Not our problem. But when you have judges like the one in New Mexico, Cano, he was housing a Trendaragua.
Yeah.
How insane.
Here illegally.
How
he was
insane.
living in their house, having Christmas dinner with them. There's pictures of them wearing matching shoes. The judge and the mutt matching flip flops.
I mean,
the mutt walking around on Christmas morning with a semi-automatic assault.
Yes.
I almost said assault, right? But a semi-automatic rifle, high capacity magazine, AR-15 type, AK. Wasn't AK-47? It was AR type, maybe an AR-15, AR-30, whatever it was. Walking around, camoed out. Look at me in the guy's house.
I mean, these
ICE is doing a raid. ICE has a target. They know they're going after this kid. He happens to live at this address. They don't know who owns the house. They show up. There's a judge there saying, I'm Judge Cano. I'm the circuit judge for blah, blah, blah. He's my guest. What are you talking about? No. And the ICE guys didn't dime the judge out. They have reports to fill out. They got paperwork. Where was he? He was at this location. Who lives there? Oh, so-and-so. Circuit Court Judge blah. Him and his wife were both charged. And rightfully so.
Yes.
And rightfully so.
Yes.
You cannot impede federal law. This wasn't a guy that 20 years ago had a gardener or a housekeeper or someone that did odd jobs around the house or the farm and gave him a place to live. Because that happened forever.
In the house.
He was in the house, living there as part of the family, which is fine if the guy's here legally. You can have anyone you want in your house. But that judge knew that this kid was there illegally. Now, I can't prove that because I don't live in that house, but he's a judge. He's a smart guy, right? He's got to be a smart person to be a judge.
Come on, kid.
Of course he knew. So they're arrested. They're impeding federal immigration law. He's already been told by the AG, you're never going to practice law in New Mexico again. So you're going to throw away your livelihood and your good name for the cause of housing an illegal immigrant, known gang member that's on a deportation list. There are other fights to be fought. That one, of course, this guy's job.
This is what we were talking about earlier. I don't understand what the end game is for the Democratic Party right now, and I shouldn't even say the Democratic Party because there's people on both sides of the aisle that subscribe to this. Tommy, please eat. I don't want you to die. I don't understand what the end game is. Like, how do you work this into your campaign and what you support? Like,
it comes back to mental illness.
it really is.
If you interview legal immigrants, people who went through that shitty process of coming through, going through, getting vetted, the whole 9 yards, going through years,
yes,
they're going to tell you, I'm against illegal immigration. And
nobody hates illegal immigrants more than
legal immigrants.
They will spit on the ground. They're like,
100%.
wait, I went through all this years of process, attorneys, all this money just to what?
To watch you come in and get
have
free
the right to pay
SSI,
taxes.
SSD, SNAP-WIC, TANF, EBT, and all that. Yeah.
Wow, look at you rattle that off.
I know all the welfare stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Christ, I worked in Red Banks.
He has 7 kids collecting probably.
Yeah. No, it's insane. And you know what's frustrating is if you look to see who's basically against deporting illegals, it's angry white liberal women. That's who it is. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And men who identify as both. But
25 to 35-year-old white middle to upper class women
guilt
are the absolute most vile demographic. If you go to any protest march, the stuff that comes out of that demographic's mouth is horrendous, and they'll be an ally to anybody. Like we were talking about earlier. Just pick a thing.
Yeah,
they don't even know what the fuck they're protesting. If they can stand there and scream vile shit at politicians or cops, they're gonna do it. They are the worst.
And
I don't know, like they're social whores or social movement whores. And whore is not in I'm a woman that bangs lots of dudes terminology, but
there's something wrong
just
with that.
Basically jumping on every bandwagon they can and saying, "Oh, I'll fight for that just because I'm bored on a Tuesday and there happens to be a protest down at Barclays Center, so I'm going to go down there."
They were wearing vaginas on their heads a couple of years ago. Literally walking around at protests with vaginas on their heads.
Oh, the pink hat movement.
Now they're wearing a pink dildonic dacus so they can maul themselves backwards and frontways.
What the fuck is
dildonic
again? Yeah, dildonic, oversized dildo, like a dual mule that you can run both ways. Dutch door action, ACDC.
That's called two-headed. That's two-headed.
A dildacus.
Yep,
but dual mule.
Thong. Yeah. It's like a thong, but you can hit it 3 ways.
So
you just made Stacy Stacy got so hot when you said that right now.
Stacy, you're getting 2 PBA cards.
She's like, "Oh, you have one only 2 heads?" She's got the 4-headed monster.
Is Campy doing the show today?
We're getting the gas-powered one. That's it. DeWalt.
This covers 3 holes and an extra if a friend shows up.
Jesus Christ.
Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan.
Oh,
right. So Hannah Dugan, she has a like a pre-trial hearing with this young individual. ICE gets wind of it. He's in their database. They know he's scheduled to show up at her courtroom on this date at this time. They show up in plain clothes, and they completely and totally legit, super professional. They could have just walked in that courtroom, grabbed that kid, and left. They go in the courtroom. They talk to the bailiff.
Actually, for accuracy, they can't. You have it's this weird thing. You have no jurisdiction inside of the courtroom.
You know what though? They still don't have They didn't have to say boo. They literally could have sat outside the courtroom and said, "As soon as he walks out, we got him."
For accuracy, Tommy.
So for accuracy, they followed their guidelines with this.
They stayed outside. They were waiting.
No, they went in. One of them went in and saw the bailiff. Told the bailiff, "This is what's going on. You have this guy here. He's set to see Judge Dugan. We're going to detain him after his hearing. We're going to wait for him outside in case there's a melee. He hears some voices and yelling. It's just us." All right. The bailiff goes to the judge, tells the judge what's going on. The judge loses her shit.
Comes off the bench.
She comes off the bench. She leaves the bench. She writes a decision on the case. Writes a decision off bench, comes around, tells the bailiff what the decision is, and then she distracts the ICE agents or the
Well, first
immigration officials.
she argues with the ICE agents and tells them they have to get out of
Yeah,
the
but while
courthouse.
she's doing that, the defense and the defense attorney know that these guys are there, and they've been told, here's the door to get out of here while we distract the agents.
She told the agents they had to talk to the chief judge. Like she went out there and had an argument with them and said they had
in
to
the
talk to
courtroom.
No, outside. She sent them. No, she distracted them and sent them to go talk to a chief judge. Then she went back in
to send them
to the courtroom, brought the defendant and the attorney into her chambers, and sent them out the back door. Purposely knowing that the ICE agents were distracted. P.S. By the way, they still got them anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they got him outside the elevator in the general public area.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Is that insane?
Yes. Yes. You need to ask.
I can't wrap my head around that. This is a judge. This is a judge. This is a brilliant.
This is the rule of law.
Right.
This is
the rule of law. This is you as a judge. You don't have the mental capacity or the mental
acuity.
I don't even say the proclivity, but you're not allowed. That judge is not allowed to say. Remember A Few Good Men, when Tom Cruise is interviewing Jack Nicholson, he says, does Dawson and Downey have the ability to differentiate between which orders they follow or not so much? And he said, no, they do not. They do not. My Marines follow orders or people die.
Or people die.
That's what he said.
Right.
They don't have the option to decide which ones they're going to follow, which ones they're going to enforce. This judge took it upon herself to say, oh, I will work with you on this, but I'm not going to work with you on that. Even though all the paperwork and the federal, she said to him, you show me a warrant signed by a judge and not a warrant, informational warrant. You need a judicial warrant, not an informational warrant. Show me one of those and I'll hand him over. And that whole distraction bullshit. You don't have that right. You don't have that right. What she did actually was, besides making their job a little harder, she basically just said, all right, from now on, we're not going to tell you shit. We're not telling you shit. We're going to put a guy in this courtroom just to watch. Every time we want to get one, we're going to watch. We're not going to tell you nothing. And the minute he walks out that room, we're grabbing him. That's it. We tried to play nice. We tried to let you know we're in your sandbox and we don't want to disrupt anything. But now, fuck you and your sandbox.
The courtesy is done.
Done. Gone. And not just for her courtroom, but every judge in that, and like in general, they're not going to operate like that. They're going to know. They're going to know. Oh, now we got to put somebody by the judge's chamber door that comes out that back alleyway to the judge's elevator that goes down. Who was telling the story about the judges with the keg of beer? Mo.
Judges with the keg of beer.
That sounds fun to me. I don't know.
I know.
No,
wait, what? I'm going to that court. Where?
Yeah, with the keg of beer. The judge got in the elevator. Was it last show? The show before?
Judges
They brought the keg of beer into the elevator. The cops.
Tom,
come on. That sounds like fun. I want to hear more. To be honest with you, I'm sorry.
No, we all right. Well,
hold on.
Anyway,
I'm gonna have Blue search that. Blue, can you search judges with a keg of beer?
Told us the story about being in court, and they worked in the in the court system, and they took the judge's elevator down with the keg of beer with the garbage bag over it.
I'm
not making this up.
No,
it was one of your guys telling me?
If we find it, we're gonna put it up here. Judges with a keg of beer. I'm going to that court.
Yeah, they had like a party in the courtroom. Oh, you know what? No,
Blue's
no,
on
my
it.
friend. No, my buddy's a court officer. He told me the story. Or show. Sorry.
Okay.
I drink a lot and I forget things, so I was thinking
No,
I blacked
I knew
out.
this. I remember the story.
I was about to go play it back. To be honest,
Court officer in Manhattan, and they had a party like a Friday night, and they got all banged up in the courtroom, and they had this keg of beer to get out because they were doing some sort of inspection, and they took a judge's elevator, took a garbage bag, and put it over the keg, and the judge came in.
There were interns involved, and they went both.
No,
ways.
no interns. These are all court officers, and the judge got in, and there was a prosecutor in there with them, with the cops, with the court officers. And the judge got in and said, "Oh, what's in the bag?" And the prosecutor like quickly went, "I can't tell you, Your Honor. It's part of a case we're working on." And the judge was like, "Okay." It was a half a keg of beer in a garbage bag that they were sneaking out before they got caught. It was hysterical. Anyway, I got my stories. I'm confused there.
I like that
Where were
one,
we?
Tommy.
So what they're going to do is they're going to put guys outside that elevator. They're going to have to no longer play nice, and it's ridiculous that they're able to say, "I'm going to enforce this law, but I'm not going to enforce that law." The country is a rule of the rule of law runs.
It's a judicial coup, is what's going on, and it's ironic that it's coming from the party who is so concerned about insurrections.
Yeah.
And all
Party of tolerance.
Yeah, 100%. They are absolutely aligning in Congress, not the literal Congress. They are coordinating
Within their circles.
Yeah, they are coordinating to undermine the federal government, to undermine the president of the United States. It is literally, by definition, a coup.
Yeah.
The guy from Maryland,
and the Democratic Party is supporting. Like, I don't understand. Again,
dude,
like I said,
Jamie Raskin, the congressman from Maryland,
that dude
basically said, dude, he said to El Salvador that if what did he say? We're not going to look upon you in a good light when the Democrats get back in power. I think he said, you will not be looked kindly upon when we get back in power. That how like AOC hosts like virtual town meetings.
Yes.
For specifically designed for illegal immigrants on how to evade police and how to get around ICE.
Yes.
You're telling people that's like you going on there saying, "Hey guys, you want to rob a bank? I'm going to tell you how to rob a bank and get away with it."
Correct.
There are laws against this.
And this is why I don't understand.
He's saying, "I'm going to teach you how to break the law." Raskin is saying, "It's our law, it's our problem, but if you work with our government, we're going to fuck you." That's what Raskin is saying.
I don't understand how. I mean, again, I'm very happy with the last two arrests that happened with these judges and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Great. I'm gonna, congratulate you on the good things that you do, but I'm still gonna be critical of all the other stuff that you don't do. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
And these politicians, the corruption and the obstruction, it is flagrant. There should be no, like, again, all these politicians that travel to El Salvador, the minute they come back into the United States, they should be arrested for treason. Yeah, violation of the Logan Act, treason immediately. You don't need some, because the people that advocate for Pam Bondi and the impatience of the MAGA movement, they're like, "Oh, well, you got to be patient. They're putting together airtight cases." Stop it. Stop it. You don't need airtight cases. These motherfuckers are putting shit right out. It's two curses.
Yeah, but you know what? You and I are thinking. You and I are thinking at very different levels than what they are. And I'm not defending because I agree with you. I agree with you. Why we haven't seen more action from the?
I can tell you why. I can tell you why.
More,
I can tell you why. They are acting
like you have an opinion. You have an opinion why?
Well, of course. They are acting like people who they stumbled into new money, right? Like they got their positions now. And they understand that the protection of daddy is going away in 2028. Trump's political career is done in 2028. And they want to stick around. He does it right. They stop it. They want to stick around for a little bit when Trump is gone. So they are taking it right to that point, and then they're stopping.
Pam Bondi is not going to work in the federal government.
The people who fear losing power never truly have any. That's a Josh 2025. I'm sorry, that's a Mo.
Listen, 2020. I like that.
That's a Mo 2025 quote. You can make that a shirt. People who fear losing power never truly have any, and they're kept people. Like, they will never go. I voted for scorched earth. The only two people in this current administration that are doing exactly what they said they were going to do in the manner that they said they were going to do it are the President of the United States and Tom Homan.
Oh,
That's it.
Tom
That's
Homan.
it.
Amazing.
I voted for scorched earth. I don't want, listen, let's be real, right? I don't give a fuck what cases they put together on any of these politicians. Are any of them ever really going to prison? No, they're never going to prison. But what I want to do is the same thing they did to my president. I want to brandish them with, I want to put the scarlet letter on them. I want to perp walk them. I don't give a fuck.
They don't work. They don't operate like that, though. They're not,
course,
because
right, exactly.
The GOP is not as
Tommy.
devious as the Democrats.
Exactly.
It's unfortunate because sometimes the bully has to get punched in the face, and they're just not willing to punch them in the face yet.
Tommy, that is my point. Exactly. Yes. They do not operate.
There are other ways to get rid of the bully without punching them in the face.
No, there's not. No, there's not.
Yeah, there is. If you take away punching them in the face is the immediate answer right now. On the long term, if you take away their power, they'll never be bullies again. Take away their power, and that's what's happening when you have 5, 6, 7, 8 Democrat senators and House Representatives.
You put that Epstein list out there. Right? I don't give a fuck whatever prosecution ever comes from that. I don't care. I want every person that was on that Epstein
to be
list
exposed.
to have to walk into a restaurant for the rest of their life and have everybody in that restaurant be like, yo, that's that fucking
He was
pedophile.
on the list.
And I want them to have that conversation defending themselves every single time. That's what I want, bro. I'm not
redacted list, and Barry Bonds was on Epstein Island.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, Barry Bonds. You son of a bitch. Listen. Is Bill Clinton ever going to prison? No, Bill Clinton will never do a day in prison. I know that, but I want his name to be seen. I want it all exposed. And listen, I'm fair, bro. If you have evidence that Donald Trump was part of that, put it out there. Fuck him too. This is not a partisan thing. If we as a society are not willing to defend our most vulnerable, which are our children, then burn this fucking society down.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck. This is not partisan. Put that shit out there. I know. I really am cursing. I mean,
your mother listening?
I mean, it's a kid's show. Burn it all down if we're not willing to do that. And again, you see these people that are they're saying, oh, well, you got to be patient. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, they're building these cases. Nah, man, I'm not patient because I'm seeing the same behavior from them as I've seen from establishment.
So why have against Letitia James, right? Everything that we're reading about and we're hearing about Letitia James, oh, this, that, and the other thing, a fraud, mortgage fraud, that, the other fraud. They're not just going to come out and just charge her today. They have to, as an investigator, can't. And I get, I see both sides of this argument. As much as I want to see, the minute I saw those reports, first of all, I don't know. I only know what Fox News wants me to know. I only know what CNN wants me to know. I don't know the minutia of that paperwork. There may be a very legitimate reason of what her lawyer's explaining it now. And we don't know if he's full of shit or not. So as much as I want to see Letitia James, when they looked up the judge in Milwaukee, they went to the courtroom and they arrested her there. And her defense attorney said, why did they do that? They know where she lives. They treated her like a common criminal. Yeah, but you know what, though? She's worse than a common criminal. She's the one who's supposed to uphold the law.
She abused the public.
When a cop gets arrested, sometimes it's at home. Sometimes it's at the precinct. I've seen guys, not physically like I was at the precinct when it happened. I've seen the videos of guys getting escorted out of the police building in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. You don't think you could have got that guy at home? When they went after Trump at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago, and the FBI sent in 15 cars and trucks and had
That
a big
was all
show.
theater.
It's
That
a
was all
they could've
theater.
just-
It's a statement.
They could
Yep.
knock
It's the
his
perp
door
walk.
or had his lawyer say, "Hey, have him report in." No, they made a statement, and that statement was made here. You're a judge. We're coming to your courtroom, and we're locking you up in your building. And now that frustrates you and annoys you, and think you're being unfair. Screw you. That's exactly the message you want sent. You want every other judge in that building to watch her get walked out of there in handcuffs, and let them know when you go against the federal government and you refuse federal law, you will also be arrested.
This could be you.
Yeah.
Fuck around, find out.
Yeah, that's right. FAFO.
Yeah, we don't have to
But
abbreviate here.
On
Fuck around, find out.
on a good note, our boy in California, Gavin Newsom, is coming around.
Coming
Gavin
around to
Newsom
what?
coming
That
around.
guy's
Oh yeah,
creepy as fuck. He ain't coming around.
dude. So he's now. This is hysterical. Now we always talk about these judges that let people go, and you say, well, my default and what a lot of our defaults are is, what if it was your kid, Lincoln Riley? What if that was your daughter, Your Honor? What if that daughter was murdered? What if that was your kid, the girl in Texas that was raped and left in the bathtub? What if that was your kid, right? How would that affect you differently? So this is guy deported in 2013. He sneaked back in. DWI, kills 2 young kids, 22 and 24, girl and a boy dating, whatever. DWI kills them. He gets 9.5 years for killing. So he pled down to vehicular manslaughter, murder. He pleads down. He gets 9.5 years. He does 3.5. He's got 6 years left. Parole board is paroling him, letting him out. Some people wind of it created a big hoo-ah. They went to Newsom. Newsom turned around and went to ICE and said, the guy's on your list. He's getting released on this date. There's nothing I can do about that. But this is where he's. They let him come pick him up right from the courtroom.
That's
Very
That's
different
pretty
message
impressive.
than what he's been given. Well, you know why it's impressive? It's impressive because he can't run for re-election and he has eyes for the White House. Otherwise, that guy is not letting him go. He give 2 shits. But now he's encouraging other municipalities and other judges to follow federal law.
Right.
Why? Because he knows, A, I'm out of here. And if I
White House.
love California and I want to see California survive, he knows they have to cooperate with the White House. They have to do something. They cannot just say, screw you and everything that you stand for. They have to play ball a little bit. And he has aspirations for higher office, so he has to play ball. He has to. The face of the Democratic Party is not AOC. I would love for it to be AOC. That would be good. That would guarantee Republicans for the next 10 years if AOC is the face of the Democratic Party. But she's
No, I
not.
think
Gavin Newsom is.
this whole whatever you want to call it, campaign, whatever that's going on with her, is she's trying to take down Schumer. I think that's what it is. I think she knows.
she's got an eye.
Yeah, no, she can't be president in the United
got
States.
a-
She's retarded. She's
war
retarded.
chest- Her
She's
war
retarded.
chest and her physical chest are huge. Yeah, she's got money, and Schumer basically said, they're misdirected, and I'm not going anywhere. Dick Durbin, who's the guy from Democrat, 80 years old, 40 years in politics, he's not running for re-election, and he said, "I'm getting out while I can. I'm getting out with my head held high. I'm leaving on my terms instead of being."
There's a
forced
lot
out."
more than Durbin that are doing that.
Oh
Tommy,
yeah, no,
you're starting to lag, bro. Your connection is
no, you're lagging. You're lagging.
No, I'm not.
God
I'm
damn it.
not lagging. I'm not. Lagging,
So,
bro.
seeing that, and he was specifically asked about Schumer, and he basically said, Schumer's going to do what Schumer does. I see the writing on the wall, so I'm going to bow out while I can with my integrity. That party's screwed. The problem is
the party is 100% screwed.
those
The
30
further they go left, they are
well,
100.
better with the devil that you know, right? Better with the devil that you know.
That's-
Pelosi, I take Pelosi and Schumer, AOC and Jalapa or Omar or any of the other whack jobs, Presley. I'll take Pelosi and Schumer any day of the week over any of those, because you know what you're getting. These crazy, those little. The best was Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley was on the news just 2 days ago, and Joe Crowley was the councilman who lost his seat to AOC back in, I don't know, 20.
You hear him lagging too,
2018,
right?
something like
It's
that.
not just me.
Is that what? Yeah, I didn't know. What was
Tommy, yeah, bro.
What,
Your
nothing's
connection's
changed
lagging.
on
What
my
do you
end.
want? What do you want me to tell you, dude?
Dude, I got a 4 Emmy. All right, we're 2:15 in anyway, so we'll save it for another show.
Hold on. Let's focus here on a second.
Ugh! Ugh! That face.
So you're definitely
That's a good looking guy right there.
See now.
No, really, he's a
You
good looking
see it
guy right
too.
there.
Connection's horrible.
It's not
Tommy,
on my end.
did you see in the post today that Diddy's defense attorneys have a new defense for him? It's that Diddy is just a swinger. Did you see that?
What?
They're trying to say that all the stuff that went on, it was just because, well, he's a swinger, it's taken out of context.
Oh, this
They're
is
saying it's a
swinging.
lifestyle choice. Now, if that's the case, then I guess Jeffrey Dahmer was a connoisseur. I don't know. I'll never understand that, because if Diddy,
I want his recipes.
if Diddy was hiring male
It's
escorts to
Dahmer
come to
cookbook.
parties,
I'm gonna write that.
yeah, put that down. He was a connoisseur.
The Jeffrey Dahmer cookbook.
Diddy was hiring male escorts to come to these parties and ass blast his friends, his attendees, and run Dutch door action on people 6 ways from Sunday. That's not swinging. That's pegging someone in the ass against their will. That's plain and simple. But the defense, that's what they're going with. He's a swinger. Is that phenomenal?
But if you're a straight man, right? If you're a straight man, why would you? Even if you're bisexual, I guess. I guess if you're bisexual, there's something to be said about hiring some dude to bang another dude and you want to watch.
Well, I guess if
whatever
you're
your
hiring
freak
them, that's
show
not
is.
really swinging. I think that's more of a contract. You know what I mean? So I think the defense is
Oh, you-
slightly
You're making Stacy
None
so
of those
hot
kids.
right now.
Oh, you're right.
3 PBA
So
cards, Stacy 3.
Justin Bieber didn't get paid.
Oh, Dawn's upset. Did you heard that?
Dawn, you get
What,
as many
JB?
as you want, sister. Blue, sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
Where are we?
All right. So when are we back, Tommy? We
Well, we have.
Yeah,
I don't
had
know if we
Hendry,
can share
yes.
the big guest news. We'll share when date in May.
No, we absolutely can share. We just don't know with the date yet.
I wouldn't share it just yet until we. No, you don't want to jinx that. When we have a solid date, we'll put it out there. I think saying have someone for a month of and then it turns into a month of something else, and it turns into they're not coming. Let's just leave it be. But we do have a lineup of
I think I
interesting
already
guests.
shared it.
Well, too bad. Well, sorry, bro. Anyway, yeah. It was Campy's fault.
I did that. That was all me. My bad.
Tommy is so displeased.
Tommy, that was only one. That's pretty good. That's Tony was very excited with that. And so was
Where were we?
Stacy. She might not know it, but that was exciting.
Oh no. Trust. She's definitely excited. Yeah, so all right, so
I want to get a
officially,
Stacy doll. I want to get a little Stacy doll to put on the table.
It would have to be a
When we do
little
a show.
Stacy doll. She's a midget, but that's cool. You can make fun of her, bro. I mean,
I didn't make
you
fun
know,
of her.
I mean,
Again, it's the little things.
Make fun of her just because she.
a
Well,
violation
she
of the
isn't. I know that she doesn't like me. I know she doesn't like me, but yet I didn't make fun of her.
American with Disabilities something act, whatever. It's cool, dude. I'm suing you. Don't worry about it. All right. So when are we officially back that we know of that you want to advertise?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What do we got?
2 weeks. Bad injury.
10th.
Bad injury.
May 10th.
Look at
Oh,
look.
if you get that guy for May 10th.
Campy knows your show better than you do.
No, listen, we have Ralph Friedman in the
Yes.
queue. I'm not sure what date that is. We have Ralph Friedman in the queue. I'm working on one or two others. I know Mike's working on a big one, big fish.
He's definitely working on a big one.
All right. You
Good.
want to
Thank
share
you.
that? You
Yeah,
share.
listen,
I'm not one to jinx jinx a good luck. So I don't want to say
No,
anything.
no.
until we have
Listen,
the
I
date.
hope you feel better. I appreciate you sucking it up, and I mean, bro, almost 2.5 hours. I know you're not feeling well, and for as much as we bust your balls, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, you did. Oh, here we go. Don't you have a plug you want to get in before we bounce?